Hey guys, this is the Riptide here, and today I'm going to be doing my very first movie review on a film that I've wanted to get off my chest for a bit of a while now. It was only a matter of time before I had to dig into the work of Stephen King. And when it comes to Stephen King, there's only one book, maybe two, in particular that I'm referring to. One of them is Misery. I'll probably get to that one later. And the other one is his first. The infamous Carrie White. If some of you don't know, Carrie White is a fictional character based on Stephen King's book from the same name. It was written back in 1973 and published the following year later. And as a matter of fact, there was a live adaptation film after the book was published back in 1976 featuring Sissy Spacek as Carrie White, Piper Laurie as Margaret White, Amy Irving as Sue Snell, Nancy Allen as Chris Hargis, and William Catt as Tommy Ross, and John Travolta as Billy Nolan. That was his film debut, by the way. Really. And I'm not gonna review that movie today because I want to save the best for last. And I do mean the best because that movie was just wow. I mean, from the acting to the lack of CGI. I mean, every single moment in that film captured the essence of the book really well. None of it felt cheesy or repetitive or none of that. It just felt right, and that's what made it such a good movie. But then again, if you know Hollywood nowadays, it was only a matter of time before they decided to remake it. It was actually confirmed in 2011 that they were remaking it, and in fall of 2013, it finally hit the big screen. And, well, things got a little mixed up. Now, this version featured Alex Russell as Billy Nolan, Ansel Elgort from Fault of Our Stars as Tommy Ross, Gabriella Wilde as Sue Snell, Judy Greer as Mr. Jardin, Portia Doubleday as Chris Hargison, Julianne Moore as Margaret White, and, no surprise here, stealing the freaking show, Chloe Grace Moretz as the main character. And I am telling you right now, that girl blows my mind every time I see her. I mean, from the movies I've seen her in, from Kick-Ass 1 and 2, to The Equalizer, to If I Stay, to The Fifth Wave, I mean, all of those movies, it's amazing nonetheless. That girl gives 110% every time I see her, and this movie was just absolutely no exception. Now, speaking of Chloe, that actually brings up an issue with the movie. Some people feel like it's the biggest issue. The problem they had with it was, how can I put this nicely? She acted the part, but she just didn't look the part. What? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know what Carrie looked like, I mean, she had pimples all over her face, she had to wear dirty clothing because her mom wouldn't let her blend in with society, she was slightly overweight a little bit, and, well, just not the type of person that some internet people just don't want to be friends with. But at least some people in this community actually have a heart. No offense. But then again, while that doesn't make sense, it makes sense, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, while Sissy was in her 20s when she took the role, her mere appearance alone almost nearly fit the character perfectly, and because of that, it made her performance all the more legendary and such. I mean, even when she was wrecking stuff up at prom, when she was just standing there with the eyes just blatantly wide open and chaos erupting around her, it made her performance all the more intriguing and such. And while Chloe does give it her all in this film, her performance kind of gives it a step back, because the possibility of a very good-looking girl being bullied by her peers, while I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because it is a possibility, but when it comes to Carrie, it just seems rather implausible. I mean, when you see her getting that part in the movie where all the girls are just throwing the tampons at her, and Chris pulls up the video on her phone. When you see her getting the punishment, it really is hard to buy, because it just, not only does it make it look wrong, but it also feels basically impossible. But at the same time, her performance was so good, I really didn't pay any attention. Moving on to Margaret White now, and in all honesty, Julianne Moore did a really, really great job. I mean, she really creeped me out in this one. I mean, Piper Laurie did a much better job in scaring the living hell out of me, but Julianne just, I mean, her performance struck some sort of fear in my heart now, because you can tell from her performance that I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, wow. But Margaret wasn't always messed up, you know. Her and her husband Ralph were both deeply concerned Christians, but one night that kind of changed. Ralph somehow got drunk, exceedingly drunk. I believe his blood alcohol level was, it wasn't close to 3, but he was highly intoxicated. And he ended up allegedly raping Margaret at, it was martial rape. And afterwards, Ralph left Margaret, and shortly afterwards, he died in a construction accident, which left Margaret to take care of Carrie on her own. Now, to be honest with you, the fact that, I really don't know what to say. I mean, that does explain Margaret's state of mind and her weakened, fragile shell of a woman. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, she probably has borderline personality disorder as well as some untreated schizophrenia. You could tell that just sometimes just by the look in her face and also the things that she does. But at the same time, it's still no damn excuse for the way she treated Carrie. I mean, seriously, Carrie probably has post-traumatic stress disorder at this point. And not only that, but when was showering and going to prom a sin? If I can remember correctly, the first sin wasn't either of those. The first sin was lying. Moving on to Sue Snell now, and she was one of the people in Chris's posse. It consisted of Nick and Liz, Heather, and Tina Blake, who was just as bad as a bully as Chris was. And the difference between her and those you-know-whats is the fact that she actually had a freaking change of heart. I mean, the fact that she even had the guts to still try and help Carrie, even despite what she had did. I mean, it's amazing. If if Carrie would have survived at the end of the movie, they would have made a very understandable friendship if it actually happened, that is. And it was nice that Sue actually let Tommy take Carrie out, because I honestly don't know and quite a better idea than that. And now let's move on to the villain. Where do I begin? Chris Hargison in this film is a much bigger you-know-what than the Chris in the original. And that is actually saying something. And that in mind, I think that was my favorite part of this film. Because, I don't know what Portia did, but she took almost every trait of the original Chris and just made it more evil. Evil person is Chris. The fact that she even had the, I would say balls, but she doesn't have any, but she definitely have the cojones to, the fact that she still thought she had a chance against Carrie even after what she did to her friends at prom. For the love of God. For a girl who has an IQ of 140, this girl is incredibly stupid. What the hell did she think was gonna happen? Come on. But Portia, she made the character work somehow. I don't think anyone has ever made me hate a character more with a passion than the way she did it. I gotta give her props for that. Just, overall, I'm impressed. So, now we get to the question y'all are probably waiting for me to answer. Do I think that this version surpasses the original? No. No, it definitely doesn't. But on its own, despite the number of complaints, it wasn't really all that bad. I know Hollywood has developed the habit of taking all memorable movies and making them worse nowadays, so I really understand if y'all think this movie was doomed from the start, because I can admit, there were a lot of things about this film that bugged me. The dialogue at times felt forced, the special effects whenever used did not hold up well, you could tell whenever they cut some scenes out, the soundtrack didn't really do it any justice, and overall, the film plays it too safe. We already know what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen, and possibly why it's gonna happen. Okay, I take the how back, because sometimes in remakes we don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but we all know what it is. But then again, these movies are basically just adaptations of the source material. They're not supposed to be carbon copies. And the fact that they even tried to make something original, from scratch, I'm impressed that they actually put some effort into this, because I was not really too sure at all. The acting is some of the best I've ever seen. The directing is fairly good for the most part. The writing was a little lazy at times, but most of the time it was kept on point, and it lived up to its R rating. Those are some of the good qualities that you want to keep in movies, and that's what this movie had to offer. Kimberly Pierce has made a bit of a hit, but in the end, that's pretty much all it is. And she really can't save the score for this movie, because as much as I enjoyed it, it is highly, highly unnecessary. The last good Carrie movie we saw was mere decades ago, and the fact that it's even around, it still kind of bugs at me. But I hold my conclusion, because this film still impresses me for what it is. I would recommend that people at least see this movie. I don't really know if it's enough for you to recommend it. But then again, it's your choice. 50-50 score.